Hey guys, Tyler here, technical artist with World Labs. I hope you're having a great day so far. We have a really exciting video planned for today. Today, we're going to be going over how we get our assets from Marble into Unreal. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to take your amazing environments that you've generated inside of Marble and import them directly into Unreal, just like this. All right, let's dive in. All right, before we dive in, I just wanted to have a quick pipeline overview so we can understand how we're going to be getting our assets from Marble and into Unreal using the Volinga plugin. All right, so our environments are going to be coming from Marble into Unreal in three components. Our environment is going to be coming into Unreal using as a OpenCV PLY. Our collision mesh is going to be coming into Unreal as an OpenGL GLB. We can use the 360 Pano PNG as our environment skylight, but we'll need to convert it to an HDR first. We recommend using Photoshop for this step. However, you can use any image editor that you like as long as you can save it out as an HDR, or you can use free online PNG to HDR image converters, whatever suits your needs best. All right, now that we have the basic understanding, let's step into Marble. So you've created this amazing environment. And as you can see, we have this amazing environment that has been created by one of our community members, and it just looks fantastic. I love all the detail. So now we have it, and we're ready to get it into Unreal. So we do that by two things. We need to configure our download settings. Now to do that, we want to come down and click Download, and then we're going to click Settings. Now there are two main settings that we need to adjust before we can start downloading our files. The first one is splat format. Now this is dictated by the Volinga plugin. They support PLY, so we need to ensure that our splat is set to PLY. Now the second is the coordinate system, OpenGL or OpenCV. OpenGL is a left-handed coordinate system, and OpenCV is a right-handed coordinate system. Now, since the Volinga plugin will be importing our splat, it prefers the OpenCV coordinate system. And since Unreal will be processing our collision mesh, we need to ensure that that is set to OpenGL. So we'll need to toggle this setting before each download. So since we're downloading our environment, we're going to ensure that the environment is set to OpenCV, PLY, and we'll click Save. Now we can click Splats to begin the download of our environment. After that's downloaded, we can click the Downloads button again, click Settings, and now we want to set or click OpenGL. Click Save, click Collider Mesh. This will download our collision mesh. After that's finished downloading, we can click the download icon one last time, go to More Options, and click 360 Panorama Image. Now that we've downloaded the components for our environment, we can move on to downloading our plugin. The link will be in the description. Go to the Volinga website, set up your account, and download the plugin. After you've downloaded the plugin, you should have a PLY, a GLB, a PNG, and then a zip file of the plugin. Now, before we set up our Unreal project, I just want to step into Photoshop real quick, and we're going to convert our PNG to an HDR. I'm going to double click on our PNG to open it up in Photoshop. Now that it's in Photoshop, we just need to go to Image, Mode. We need to change it from 8 bits to 32 bits. Now we can go File, Save as a copy. We just need to change the Save As type to Radiance. Ensure that our file extension is HDR. I'm going to remove the copy here at the end. I'm going to click Save. Awesome. Now that we've saved out our HDR, we can open up the Epic's Games Launcher and navigate to the Unreal Engine library. We need to make sure that Unreal Engine 5.6 is installed. If it's not, click on the plus icon to the right of engine versions. A grayed out Unreal icon should appear. Click on the version numbers and select 5.6 from the dropdown. Click Install. After it's finished installing, you should see a fully opaque Unreal icon and click Launch. This will open up the Unreal Project browser. All right, now that the Unreal Project browser is open, it allows us to select from a myriad of templates and starting points that they have for whatever needs that your project has, ranging from simulation to architecture to films to games. But for our use case, we're going to be using the first-person template. All of the default settings work fine for our use case. We're just going to change the name to Volinga Plugin to Volinga. And we are going to make sure we include all the starter content, and we're going to click Create. And this will create and open our Unreal project. All right, now that our project is opened up, we need to close it immediately so that we can install the Volinga plugin. So we'll close our project, and we're at where our downloads were. I'm going to Control C to copy the zip file from plugin. I'm going to step to where we have our Unreal project. And then we're going to need to create a folder in the root of our project called plugins, plugins with a capital E. And then I'm going to Control V to paste the zip file. We recommend using 7-zip to extract zip archives. Windows has a built-in unzipper, but 7-zip is just a little bit more faster. If you want to use the default Windows zip extractor, right-click and click Extract All. If you're using 7-zip, you're going to right-click, show more options, 7-zip, extract to the folder name. After it's extracted, we can step into the Volinga folder, and you see we're going to have two folders, the data bridge and the renderer. I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to Control C. I'm going to step back into the plugins folder, and I'm going to Control V to paste them. I'm also going to delete the zip file and the folder with the same name as the zip file. Awesome. Now we have our plugin installed. We just need to open up our project and enable it in the project. So I'm going to step back into the root of our project folder. I'm going to double click on our U project icon to open up our Unreal project. Okay, now that our Unreal project is open, we can ensure that the Volinga plugin is open by going to Edit, Plugins, and in the search bar, type in Volinga. As you can see, we have both of our Volinga plugins enabled as indicated by the Volinga icon in the toolbar. Now, with the Volinga plugin, you need to ensure that you have your license enabled in the plugin before you start working with any splats. Now, to do that, you want to click on the hamburger menu and go to, or the three dots, the three vertical dots to the right of the icon, and click on Open License Panel. Now, depending on your license type, you'll either download a .license file from the Volinga website and import it into your Unreal project like you would any other assets, or you'll log in using your credentials here. After you do that, you should have access to the Volinga plugin. Now, after you've logged in or installed your license file, you should be good to go. So the next thing I want to do is I just want to take a stop into our content browser. So let's go to Window, Content Browser 1. And this will open up our content browser. Now, the first thing that we want to do before we start importing our content is we need to create a folder so that we can start importing our splats to. So I'm going to right click anywhere inside of our content folder, and I'm going to select new folder. And I'm just going to title it Splats. Now, one thing that I like to do after I create a new folder, especially if it's an important one, is I like to right click on it and I like to say set color. And that allows us to define the folder color in our library and in our outliner. And so I just like to make it a nice little blue so it stands out and it looks really nice. Awesome. That's looking really good. So now we can step inside that folder and we can right click. We're going to create another folder. The Volinga plugin imports your assets directly into the folder that you're at. Very similar to how Unreal handles its imports. So we need to make sure that we define the folder structure prior to importing our assets, or things can just get messy really quickly. So I'm going to create a new folder. We'll call this Ruined Sanctuary. Awesome. I'm going to step inside that as well. Now in order to import our assets, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go Import to Current Folder. That's going to open up our import dialog. We navigate to where we have downloaded our assets. Awesome. And so now I'm going to import the POY, the GLB, and the HDR. I'm click Open. All the default settings are okay, so we're going to click Import. Awesome. So now we have our Envol asset, which is our splat actor, our environment. We have our environment skylight, and we have our collision mesh. Now, the next thing we need to do before we start setting everything up is we need to create a material for our collision mesh so that it's not visible in our environment. So I'm going to step back up to the splats in the splats folder. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create new material by selecting material from the dropdown. I'm going to call this collision underscore map. And hit enter. I'm going to double click to open up the material editor. With our material selected, I'm going to come over here to the blend mode. I'm going to change that from opaque to masked. I'm going to hold 1 on the keyboard, click in the material graph. I'm going to right click and convert to parameter, and I'm going to name this mask. And I'm going to change the default value to 1. and I'm going to slot this into opacity mask. I'm going to click apply and close, right click, and create material instance. And if I double click into this, you'll see that if we expand the global scalar parameters values, you'll see our value that we just set, our mask value. If I uncheck this, if I check this and I hit 0, you'll see the opacity on our material is translucent, so you can't see it's invisible. So now we can go back to opaque, and this is just going to allow us to easily toggle on and off our collision mesh and allow for easy placement. The Volinga plugin, we cannot create blueprint actors with the envol assets, so we'll have to place these directly in the level. All right, so now that we have our material configured, we can start to configure our collision mesh. So we're going to step into the splats, the Rune Sanctuary, and we're going to go into the folder created by the GLB import. We can go to static meshes. I'm going to double click on the mesh actor. The first thing we need to do is change our material. So it's this material slot right here. I'm just going to drag this down. I'm going to navigate back up to the splats folder. I'm going to select the collision mat instance, and I'm just going to click on this arrow to the right of the material icon. And that's going to select whatever we have selected in our content browser and apply it to the material slot. So it just applied our collision material instance for us, which is ideal. It's what we want. Now we're going to scroll all the way down to collision complexity. And by default, it says project default. We're going to click that. We need to change it from project default to use complex collision as simple. Perfect. Now we're going to click save, and our collision mesh is ready to go. So we're going to close that out, and I'm going to move our content browser down a little bit. And the next step really is to place our environment in a level. So we're going to go File, New Level, Empty Level. And we're going to move our content browser up a little bit. Oh, one more thing before we start placing assets. We'll come back down to our static mesh. So Rune Sanctuary, folder that was created by our GLB, static meshes. And I'm going to right click on the mesh asset. I'm going to come over here to nanite. Right now it's enabled. We need to disable this. So I'm going to uncheck this box. Make sure it's awesome. So if you click it and nothing happens, unclick away, click on your asset, right click, nanite. Awesome. Right now it is disabled. It's perfect. That's what we want. So I'm going to move this down again. And we're going to step to the Rune Sanctuary folder that we created with our splat actor, and I'm going to drag the envol asset from our content browser into our level. Awesome. You can see that we have this our amazing environment in our level, and we just need to do a little bit of housekeeping. All right, so what we need to do is we just need to, with our environment selected, with our envol asset selected, we need to come to the details panel. Now, if you don't see a details panel, we just need to go to Window, Details, Details, and a details window should open. And we just need to make sure that our location is set to 0, 0, 0. So we're going to do that. We're going to select the X channel, hit 0, now the Y channel, and now the Z channel. Awesome. As you can see, our environment is zeroed out. We also need to ensure that we add a player start. So we can come up to place actors. In the search, we're going to type in player, drag in a player start. Just move that up a little bit. Now we've placed our player start. We're just going to lower it down a little bit. Awesome. Looks great. So we're going to cover two different use cases for lighting our Volinga assets. So we can start placing lights in the world and then not use the mesh normals, or we can use mesh normals. So we're going to run through we're going to run through both of those scenarios. The first one, we're going to need to make sure that we actually place our collision mesh into the environment. And the second one, we'll be getting rid of the collision mesh and we'll be using something a little bit different. So we're going to start with placing our collision mesh into our world. We're going to step into our static mesh folder, and I'm going to just drag our static mesh into our world. And with our static mesh still selected, I need to make sure that our transforms are zeroed out as well. So 0, 0, and 0. Awesome. But as you can see, we're still not lined up. Then I'm going to hit E on the keyboard with our collision mesh still selected. And I'm going to rotate them until it's lined up. So it should look something similar to this. Now, the next thing I need to do is make sure that we can't see our materials. I'm going to come to our collision material instance, and I'm going to go to our mask parameter and we'll set this to 0. Awesome. Now we don't see our collision mesh. All right, so now we can start placing lights in the world. So we're just gonna we're gonna place a point light in the top of our dome. So to do that, I'm gonna hold L and click in our environment, and we've just created a point light. Awesome. So I'm gonna move them up here, just down a little bit. So the way that you just need to put some light into the world, we just want to kind of mimic what's going on in our environment. I'm gonna hit R on the keyboard to bring up our scale transform. I'm gonna make the attenuation radius a little bit bigger. As you can see, there's not really anything going on. That's because we haven't saved out our environment. So that's one thing with the Volinga plugin that we need to make sure that we do. So once you start getting into any of these level edits, we need to make sure that we save our environment. So to do that, I'm going to go to File, Save Current Level As. I'm going to step into the folder that we made. So I'm going to go Splats and see that's our folder that we created. I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit F2 to edit, Control C to copy the name, step inside that folder, and then on our level name, we just need to want to paste it _LVL for level. Save. All right, now that the level is saved, we're going to come up to the Volinga tool options, and I'm going to click on approximate normals. And now you can see we start to have lighting in our scene. So we have our attenuation set, our radius set pretty nicely. And if we move this down a little bit, we're going to make this a little bit brighter. Do something crazy. We got some lights coming into our scene. Looks awesome. Let's make it less crazy. Do 25. Cool. We're starting to get some light in our scene and it's starting to look cool. But what if we wanted to have a light at the bottom of our scene? So now let's just see what it looks like when we play. So we're going to click play. We can see we got light coming in our scene. It's starting to make sense with our environment. But what if we wanted to have some light right here and have like a shadow being cast? Let's see what happens. So we're going to pop out and we're going to drop in a rect light. So I'm going to come up to my place actors, type in rect light, and drop this into our environment. And I'm going to move, kind of pivot it around. Let's see. As you can see, it's not really working kind of how we wanted it. So we're getting light right there. We're not really getting that harsh shadow that we should get since there's a pillar right there. Let's just move it around. Not really getting what we wanted. So this is where we need to actually change how we're deriving the normal splat. So if we want this to work, we need to first get rid of our collision mesh. So I'm going to go to Window, Content, or Window, Outliner. Get there over here, and we're just going to select our collider, and I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to select it in our outliner. I'm going to right click on our viewport, and I'm going to hit delete. And now we need to place a Volinga mesh actor. So we're going to go to our place actors, and I'm going to type in Volinga in the search, and you can see we have this Volinga mesh. And I'm going to drag that into our scene, and I'm going to change its location. We're going to do what we've been doing with everything, just 0.0, 0, and 0. As you see, we have a static mesh, and then another static. That's our actual variable. And we want to make sure that that's set to our collision mesh. So we're going to go to where our collision mesh is located. We're going to select our collision mesh in our content browser, and we're going to click on the arrow next to the icon of our static mesh to set it. So now we have that set. I'm going to turn off the Volinga rendering by clicking on the V, so that now we have a better advantage of Volinga mesh. And I'm going to hit D to make sure we're in rotation mode, and I'm going to rotate it until we are aligned. Awesome, that's looking really good. And so now I can turn back on the Volinga plugin, and we're going to make sure that we have proxy mesh based normals enabled. And then we're going to, so now we need to take this light down a little bit, a lot of it. So let's just do something like 50. And it's going to take a little bit to kind of desaturate. So let's just save all real quick. But as you can see, we're starting to get more interaction with our light. So, and we're starting to get that shadow that we wanted because we're getting the mesh-based normal. Now we still need to take this light down a little bit. So we'll go to maybe like 120. let it come down a little bit. But as you can see, we're getting that shadow that we wanted. So there's two different ways for you to light your environments using Volinga, and which really gives you a lot of flexibility to do some really cool things. And we cannot wait to see what you guys create.